Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 12.17, Eyes of Blue, Blood of Red. We are back.
That's a great chapter title. I told him this already. I'm full disclosure because we talked before the recording, but that is a good title.
Thank you.
I like it. Eyes of Blue, Blood of Red. Bone of White?
No.
No, it only goes that far.
Sorry, my ability already made me a human jellyfish.
Here's the thing though, this has the potential as a title to be the new Greed of a Beast. We could get Eyes of Gold, Teeth of White, Eyes of Sclera of Black, Hair of Brown. I don't know. We could run with this. It doesn't have to end here. Anyway, enough about that. Let's just jump in. White noise, unregistered light point, supremacy space. The music was nearly deafening, the rambling of the MC even more so. I know the voice of this guy that you want him to be already, but can you give me the example? Because it's been a while since I've listened to DJ Crazy.
Come on, oh, you're crazy. I can't do it. You're a vague accent.
Yeah. Come on, party people! The man screamed from his podium, his accent all but incomprehensible. Let me see your beautiful muscles and your giant brains! It's all to be a fighter it's all about, man! Who's it gonna be? It's crazy time! How's that?
That's fantastic.
To the crowd on the dance floor below, it clearly didn't matter what the man in the sunglasses was saying. This character is also in good trouble. He's in all the Tan series. He's like a Where's Waldo.
He resonated with me.
It's like the panda in One Piece. Can you find him?
Pandas can cry.
All that mattered was that he seemed excited about it, and so they were excited as well. The cheer they let out in response nearly drowned out the blaring music all by itself. What a headache. You think so too, right? Is it Jamilu?
Yeah.
Jamilu Aguta peeled his mind away from the demonic spear, ignoring its attempts at communication. Hey, come on, don't leave a guy all by himself. Talk to me. I'm talking to you, you little shit! Oh, that voice hurts my throat. We're not doing that anymore.
Okay. It's like, oh no, let me clear my throat.
Sorry, that really hurt. Before the spear could talk further, Jamilu's mind was pulled away by the person standing next to him. Rufus von Frostburn, Nebula 5, frowned as he looked over the venue. That's the Pugnant brother with the Cogitant sister, right?
Yeah.
It's loud, he said, his voice coming through clearly. This really the best place to be? Jamilu had set up a communication channel. I don't think his voice was like that, though.
I
don't remember! You have to help me.
He's like a rough and tumble sort of guy. He's like musclehead, a little bit.
It's loud, he said, his voice coming through clearly. This really the best place to do it? Oh, this really the best place to be.
Donald's got his own intentions for this chapter.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Jamilu had set up a communication channel between the two of them using his principality, so no external sound could prevent their communication. Even if he had to cloak his red halo while they were in Supremacy territory, it was still doing good work. Jamilu sat down at a table overlooking the dance floor, sipping at the water he'd ordered at the bar. It is, he said, nodding. The Ultraviolets pointed me to this place. Apparently, they've managed to sneak recording equipment into the last of the inner melees. It may be unpleasant, but if we stay here for a little while, we'll get an early glimpse of one of the final 16. Rufus furrowed his brow as he sat across from Nebula 2. What? They just brought cameras in? It's that easy? Jamilu crossed his arms. Shouldn't be. If I had to guess, I'd say someone on the organizational committee wants this melee broadcast for some reason. But it works out well for us all the same. Rufus took a mighty swig of his drink, booze, not water, drinking on the job. Even if a Pugnant could handle alcohol better, Jamilu didn't care for it. So this is the last one, huh? Rufus said, turning in his chair to look at the monitor that took up an entire wall of the club. That's right, Jamilu nodded. I've already received intelligence regarding the other confirmed contestants. After this, we'll head to Azum Han, begin our individual investigations. Caught your eye on anyone? Jamilu leaned forward, pushing a script across the table. There are a few, he admitted, flicking the screen on. Take this man, for instance. The glare of a barbarian was plastered onto the script, the man from the past they called Meriloko, greasy hair hanging limp around his head. Dull brown eyes looked impassively at whoever had taken the picture. They'd probably been lucky to get out alive. This is the one from 200 years ago, Jamilu explained. Mariloco. He's being sponsored by Halcyon Interstellar, the most powerful corporation this side of the galaxy. Back in the day, he served under Damon the Devilish. Rufus frowned, rooting through his brain for old history classes. Isn't that the guy who went crazy? Jamilu nodded. And this guy was alongside him through it all, until he tried to overthrow Damon and got frozen for his troubles. Mariloco was from an era where bloodlust was a pillar of communication in these parts. This is exactly the kind of guy we don't want to become supreme. Right, Rufus nodded. But he's being protected by Halcyon, right? So getting rid of him wouldn't be that easy. Why the fuck would Halcyon want this guy in charge? Jamilu sighed. There are more subtle ways of discouraging a contestant's victory. But still, you're right. So long as Halcyon has him under their protection, the two of us don't stand much of a chance interfering with him. At least while remaining undetected. So we'll table him for the time being. Supremacy scum, you should tear his throat out with your teeth! Aren't these barbarian guys part of the Supremacy, or were?
No.
The weapons?
No, they've been UAP.
Wait, the weapons?
Yeah, you asked this last time they came up.
I thought you said, like, the special weapons soul people were Supremacy.
No, they were UAP, they were against the Supremacy.
Okay.
They fucking hate Supremacy.
Supremacy scum, you should tear his throat out with your teeth! He brushed his finger against the script, and the image changed to the youthful face of Xander Rain, the new first branch of the Tree of Might. Here's another bad option, Jamilu said. Young, eager to prove he's strong enough to lead the tree, but they've got a pretty ironclad and outdated code of honor. The general public's more realistic these days, even if you manage to become supreme. Consolidating power is another story entirely. I don't think we have to worry too much about him. Brat, scalp him, gun him, see him put his money where his mouth is! Right, Rufus nodded. The image on the screen switched again to the freckled smile of Dorothy Iro, posing with one hand on her hip in the promotional shot for some charity videograph. The other hand was giving a hearty thumbs up. She's cute, Rufus commented. Jamilu cast him a withering stare. Irrelevant. Still, Dorothy Iro does seem promising. She seems to be the sort of person who wouldn't see conflict with us. But again, whether or not she can hold on to her power is another story entirely. I'll have to observe her further before I can say for sure either way. Your buddy's right. She's a pretty girl. I'll tear her face off. Jamilu squeezed his eyes shut. Victory was among the more docile of the old demons of the dawn, but he still had quite the unpleasant way with words. Sometimes, even with his training, that inner monologue became draining. But Oba Moses had entrusted him with the spear. It was his duty. There was nothing else to be contemplated. What about that Atoy Muzazi? Rufus asked, snapping Jamilu out of it. I heard he's meant to be strong. Jamilu frowned. Did you hear his claim to fame? He executed the ruler of a planet, and the minister whose command he was under, just because they offended him. He's either a maniac or an ideologue, and the only real difference between those is the name. It's not the kind of person you want in charge of your enemies. I gotcha. Rufus replied, finishing off his drink with another swig. His eyes flicked over to the wall. Hey, it's starting.
No maniac, it's Atoy Muzazi. The embodiment of evil.
The screen began flickering as the connection was made. This wasn't a live recording, of course. The sheer distance would make that impossible. But it was the best they'd be able to get without actually being there in person. The music stopped and the crowd hushed. The inner melee was cause for reverence, it seemed. Jamilu leaned forward in his seat as the battle began. So you mentioned, by the way, internet being weird in Aetheral Space, and I'm glad you mentioned that the distance makes it impossible.
Yeah.
Because of how internet works, even at the speed of light, there's only so much it could travel. I had an idea in setting, but it is a little wonky, so I wanted to run it by you.
Okay.
So you've established that an Aether technique, you can theoretically construct the same technique as someone else. You mentioned a lot of people try to copy, like, Quantum King.
Yeah.
I had this idea where there's, like, specialists hired that are trained in a very specific Aether technique that essentially teleports packets. And they work in, like, long shifts, like, kind of like air flight traffic controllers to direct packets so, like, internet can work between systems and planets. But it's obviously incredibly taxing, and, like, if they slip up or they stop focusing, then, like, people lose connection, etc. And they would get, like, paid a high salary. Is that something that's feasible, or is that, like, beyond the bounds of Aether?
It could be feasible.
Because I was wondering if that's how they did it, or if we just, like, needed to be more realistic with our expectations of internet in the roleplay and whatnot.
I would say there isn't something like that at the moment, but it could happen.
Okay. Bone Heaven. Former Gene Tyrant Facility. Ooh, facility. I like that, because I assume that's where they did their genetic engineering for other people. Supremacy Space. The planet known as Bone Heaven had once been the home and laboratory of the Gene Tyrant known as Tamiris. The oddly childlike Tamiris... is it Tamiris or Tamiris?
Oh, it's Tamiris.
Tamiris had been the one who'd resurrected the Paleo Beasts, ancient and strange monsters from the annals of prehistory. As a result, the desert surrounding their experimental citadel was infested with feathered and scaled beasts of every shape and size. Ordinarily, they would be absolute terrors to foolish trespassers. Now, though, they were trials to be overcome by the worthy. The area that would be serving as the battlefield was comprised of 3 layers. At the very bottom... Oh my god, does someone have a Jurassic Park in setting?
That's basically it.
Right? At the very bottom was Tamiris' laboratory, an underground network of tunnels and chambers. Above that, the citadel where Tamiris' servants and slaves had once resided. Then above that, there were the remains of an earlier archaeological expedition, long since torn to pieces by the paleo beasts that roamed the surface. And all around it were the bones. Hasmuth knew not whether the Titan had once been alive or was born dead, but its mighty ribcage encircled the citadel like a great white cage. Everything that happened here happened in the shadow of a divine corpse. Hasmuth moved through the brick tunnels like a ghost, his footsteps silent even as he ran across stagnant water. He was a lean and strong umbrant, clad in furs, his golden pupils flicking this way and that.
I noticed I can't say yellow now that you pointed it out.
It really is a problem. We'll have an intervention. A wooden bow and arrow, deceptively flimsy looking, was strewn across his back. To him, this inner melee was more than just a chance to become supreme. It was the hunt of a lifetime. Some of the greatest fighters in the galaxy were gathered here, forming a new jungle between them, each strong enough to become the new hunter in an instant. What connoisseur of blood could resist? Hasmuth had already been working hard. His belt told the story. Hanging from it were 8 tiny paleo beast corpses, elegant jaws, each dispatched with a blow dart in their long neck. These kills were paltry accomplishments, but Hasmuth's ability meant the trophies were still worth holding on to. Excuse me. He sniffed, drinking in deep the mingling scents of countless aether signatures. Perfumed and rancid, lethargic and zesty, decaying and fresh. No 2 people's aether was the same. Hasmuth could even smell his own, lingering around his body. The metal taste of blood. Have we met this guy before?
No, he's new.
Okay, because I could have swore we met someone who smelled aether, or was, like, mentioned
there was one of the Testament kids who heard aether.
Oh. The melee hadn't begun yet, but he could already tell certain signatures would make fine quarries. One that stank of mingling medicine and communication wine, with just a hint of gasoline.
That should be communion wine, sorry.
Communion wine. Another that suggested the musty embrace of the grave, dirt and bone and worm all intertwined. The third was strange. A normal human scent, concentrating and dissolving itself again and again and again. Death and rebirth, perhaps. Or something else? Dragon? Hasmuth grinned to himself. Fine prey made fine hunters. He could feel his blood grown stagnant over easy battles, turning hot in his veins again. He was coming back to life. Happy birthday, he whispered to himself. Is this the birthday bandito?
It might be.
Ooh!
He wasn't
whispered to himself, tapping onto the head of an inhuman statue. The tunnel he'd found himself in was partially collapsed, sunlight peeking in from the hole above. One of the elegant jaws attached to Hasmuth's belt disintegrated as he tapped into its leaping strength, clearing the distance between himself and the hole in one mighty jump. Oh, that's cool. He can, people he's killed, he can, tap into their powers they had in life. It's like the fucking aspects in World of Warcraft. That's kind of fun. This nameless ability allowed him to borrow a property from any... I love how I explained it right before it's explained. Fucking hell. Then this nameless ability allowed him to borrow a property from any carcass that he had killed with his own 2 hands, and then use it for himself. So it's not just that Aether, you can do it silently if you train. You can literally have nameless abilities?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they all were, christened with a name of some kind.
Not necessarily.
It was not something that Hasmuth had consciously developed, but instead something he had been able to do for as long as he remembered. It was only natural, after all, for a hunter to help himself to the spoils of his prey, wasn't it? That kind of has me thinking, because, a Clima made her technique automatically.
Sort of thing.
Well, what I'm thinking is, because you mentioned the whole, it's natural for a hunter to help himself to the spoils. I'm wondering if it's, like, easier to develop subconscious things based on, like, your philosophies and your beliefs. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Hazmith landed atop a sandstone building on the surface, keeping his body low as he moved forward. He could hear voices all around, echoing through the streets and old houses. That also kind of adds another layer, because tell me if I'm wrong, but I remember in Arc 7, I think his name was... What was his name? With an R?
Pablo, you mean?
No, Arc 7. The guy with Tiny Godden. Tiny Godden!
Yeah, Rico.
Rico, I think. Yeah, because he kind of struggled with his ability, right? And that ability didn't really fit him as a person.
Yeah, that was kind of like forced. You forced it, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Sorry, I keep interrupting. He could hear voices all around, echoing through the streets and old houses, lambs readying themselves for the slaughter. A fanged grin tugged at his lips, and he slowly withdrew his bow and arrow from his back. 30 seconds until the melee began. He did not have to check with Caravan to be sure. His body clock was never wrong. Hell yeah! I also have a little bit of body clock. I respect it. Along with that, like not in waking, but like I always wake up like 10 minutes before my alarm, no matter what time I set it for. Like it's just pure instinct. 30 seconds until the melee began. He did not have to check with Caravan to be sure. His body clock was never wrong. Along with the sounds clearly audible, he could smell the relative weakness of some of these nearby contestants. He'd go for them first, acquire some useful characteristics, and use them to go after more powerful prey, climb the vine. With that plan in mind, all he had to do was the hairs on the back of Hazmith's neck. Hazmith's necks were standing on end. His hands, usually so steady, were trembling against his bow. His throat was dry, his skin was cold. There was a pain behind his eyes. Something was wrong. Slowly, with chattering teeth, Hazmith found himself looking up towards the sky, as if some invisible hand was forcing his gaze. There, far above, silhouetted against a white cloud, was an electric blue star. It flickered as Hazmith watched, growing brighter and brighter. His eyes widened. There, floating in the middle of the conflagration, was a human figure. But it gave off the sensation of something much more dangerous. The young man stood atop the sky. His feet had disappeared, recorded and replaced by fizzling blue aether. That same aether shone from his cogitant blue eyes, their intensity such that they were like the twin headlights of a car. He wore a red combat suit, a stark contrast to the loose silver hair that ran down the small of his back. Oh, he has got long hair now.
Yeah.
From up here, everything seemed so peaceful. You couldn't hear the battles being set up below, or see the bloodshed that was about to be unleashed. It was so very quiet. Even the bones that littered the desert around the citadel just seemed like part of the landscape. Caravan chirped from his wrist. And begin! Blue eyes scanned the battlefield below. There were some people who might be a problem, but overall, he smiled. Weak, said Dragon Hadrian. And then, Gemini Railgun. Oh, look at that art! Look at that! I love the fucking eyes. So, that's very JJK. Oh, I love
that's exactly what I wanted.
Oh, that's so good.
He's so menacing.
Oh, can you get that in the Roll20? Or not the Roll20. The goddamn Royal Road?
Sure, maybe. Well, yeah.
You were able to get the images before
I
didn't check? Hell yeah, look at that! Oh, it's so cool!
Use Dragon Drip.
Even Dragon had to have a white cross instead of a red one because he didn't want to violate the Geneva Convention. Bombardment. There was no other way to describe the phenomenon. Spears of blue light fired on every direction from Dragon Hadrian's aether, pummeling the citadel below. The ammunition was eclectic and arbitrary. A car, a trash can, a broken automatic, a lamppost. Anything large and sturdy enough to kill a person had been recorded in preparation for this moment. And, at these speeds, it didn't take very much to kill a person. Bang, 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 bang! Without aether, you would have been deafened. Bang! 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 Without aether, you would have been blinded. Bang! 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 Without aether, and even with it, you would have been pulped. Bang! All in all, Dragon Hadrian's attack lasted about 20 seconds. Oh my god, it's like the fucking gun devil. When the smoke cleared, the first two layers of Bone Heaven had been utterly decimated. Nearly every structure had been reduced to rubble, and the red pinpricks of bodies littered the ground. So I'm guessing he learned how to generate more aether, huh?
Mm.
His reserves are higher, right?
It seems so.
One of the mighty ribs toppled over, splitting the city in half. Dragon coldly lifted the black bandage to his mouth. "Caravan," he said calmly. "Remaining contestants?" 27! The construct declared cheerfully. "Jeez, you're a riot!" There's 100 in these,
yes.
right? Oh my god.
The melee began 20 seconds ago.
He's already casually committed a genocide. Dragon ignored the comment. 27, including him? Unfortunate. He'd hoped to clear out more with that first barrage, especially since it meant that the survivors would make getting rid of him a priority. Oh well. He'd known from the beginning that this wouldn't be easy. From what his ally on the organizational committee had reported, this Inner Melee's gimmick was an evolving rule set. Every hour, a new rule would be introduced that the contestants had to obey or be eliminated. It sounded annoying. Now, though, in the first hour, they were free to fight as normal. There wasn't going to be a second hour. Gemini World! Oh my god, he records the entire planet.
Moving around the sun at such speeds. Just like a projectile, don't you think?
Lan is gonna fucking cream his jeans that Dragon is back, and I wouldn't even blame him. That was so good. You know what the fucked up part, too? And I obviously did this intentionally. You mentioned how he stands up in the sky, away from everything, how quiet it is. Very much, he is trying to be a star. As mentioned in 11.23. I love that. But, like, rather than before it was like, I just want to get away from pain, now he's like a menacing evil star, bringing down pain on others. Oh, what a twist. Gemini Railgun. I fucking love the Aether effects at his feet, too. That's so cool. All around, that's pretty fun. Aether lore questions. I might have wrote some down.
He's going to be like, "Be proud, Muzazi. You are strong."
There's one I wanted to ask you for sure that, thankfully, Lan put in the thing for me. Here we go. This is a big one. Okay. So, Lan asks... Where the fuck is it? There it is. And we were all kind of wondering this. So, every Supreme has, like, an epithet. It's like, you have Henry the Glutton, Gale the Golden. Everyone you've talked about, I don't remember them all, but they all had one. Damon the Devilish. What's Cadman's epithet?
It would depend if you were, like, pro-Cadman or anti-Cadman.
So it's not like a set canon thing?
No,
like
it's everyone become known as.
Are there any Henry people who are like, Henry, the feastful?
Maybe not. Henry was fairly universally hated.
I had a couple ideas for some. I'm trying to remember them now in the moment. It was like Cadman the Planet Buster, Cadman the All-Encompassing.
It'd probably be, if you didn't like Cadman, it'd probably be like Cadman the Indolent.
Yeah, or, Cadman the Stoic was one people thought of.
Or Cadman the Glorious.
Ooh, Cadman the Glorious. Indolent. What is indolent?
It's like slothful.
Slothful. The sloth of a Cadman. Oh, man. Alright, so we have that now. Here we go. Spit asks, what is the oldest living creature in the universe as of the present time in Aetheral Space? If that cannot be answered, what was the oldest living organism ever?
So I can't answer the first, but second question there, it would have been the Lord Director Eve of the Gene Tyrants, who was like one of the original Gene Tyrants and carried all the way until they were overthrown.
How long had he lived?
Millennia.
Did he remember the olden days?
Yeah, he remembered like human times.
He's like, I used to watch Family Guy.
It's like fucking Fire Punch, where it's like, I had to recreate humanity until they made Family Guy.
To get more again. Star Wars movies!
Yes, but with Family Guy.
Do you think anyone started a Lilith world over that? It's like, I need them to do it.
I added Family Guy funny moments to my watched later list, but the apocalypse happened before. I have to advance humanity until they make that video again so I can watch it.
Arthur asks, are Alice's documentaries good?
No.
Does she have documentaries?
She's like trying to sell a series that like documents her life as a mercenary, but well, it depends what you're looking for in good. Like, they're not good for purpose because they're horrifying when she goes into fat battle.
Nice. All right. Do you think you have one more in you?
If you've got another question, I can try.
King T-Rex asks, What is the most dystopian place/places in the Aetheral Space universe? Think like 1984, Cyberpunk's 2077's Night City.
Well, Talden was pretty dystopian.
Yeah. That's what Spit said as well.
Crestpool
I figured
is
as
another
much.
one. That place is a shithole.
Okay, Spit, you were right on the money. Nice. All right, and then there is one more, but let's save that for the episode tomorrow in case we don't get any more.
Okay.
All right. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.